Welcome in. Week, 7 of the college football season?
I think that's right.
Razorback Dave in the house, actually in my house today. Home studio in it today. Don't have my producer, but I got B-Ray on the line with me. We're going to break it down all right. It's getting crazy. I can't wait. All right, B-Ray, welcome back, buddy.
Yeah, man, it's good to be back. Week 7. Can't believe the season's halfway over.
Oh, I know. It seemed like it just started, and we got the first break of cold air this morning. At
Yeah,
least
it felt like
here in
fall.
Franklin. Here in Franklin
Yeah.
is the first break of cold air, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wild last couple of weeks in college football, when you say. We had some major upsets last week, and then just this past Saturday we had really big ball games that went down to the wire.
Yeah, and a lot of games that went down the wire that a lot of people didn't think were going to go down to the wire.
Yeah. Well, Penn State and USC went to overtime. Tennessee and Florida went to overtime. LSU and Ole Miss went to overtime. 3 overtime games on looks like 1, 2, 3 sets of ranked teams.
Right.
And, but for a little bit, Ohio State and Oregon could have gone to overtime, but for the sake of a point.
Well, then Bama, Carolina's missing one at the buzzer against Bama.
Yeah, Low did.
Kansas State, Colorado, that went down to the wire.
Yep. Then guys like Iowa State's done broke bad. I mean, they're in the top. They got a new ranking out this week. I think they're in the top 10. They were number 11 last week.
Yeah, I don't. Indiana was undefeated last week. I don't know if they won over the weekend or they were off, but heck, they were undefeated at one time.
I think they might have been off because I don't see a score for them. And then Purdue and you see where Purdue and Illinois went to overtime? Purdue's 1-5 and 0-3 in the Big Ten and lost in overtime to Illinois 50-49.
Wow.
Looked like they scored a touchdown in the overtime and either went for 2 and didn't get it or missed the extra point. I didn't actually see the ball game. I watched a lot of ball games this weekend, and I typically don't get to, but so did you get caught up in the Direct TV, AT&T, we can't show ABC for a month?
No, I didn't. I have YouTube, and I have and I do ESPN Plus streaming, and so, but I did not get mixed up in that. I did a couple of years ago and and it's funny, I was cleaning some stuff out this weekend and found an antenna that I had bought to catch the games on the that were going to be blacked out on the streaming that a couple years ago. So,
well, I got caught up in it.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, YouTube TV had a 3-week trial. And I had never tried YouTube TV, and I thought, well, okay, might as well. So
I bet a lot of people did the same thing.
Plus, it was 3 weeks. And then middle of the second week, AT&T worked it out with ABC. But by then it was too late. And the thing that did it for me, not only did it have all the channels that I wanted, it had NFL Network, which AT&T D-Stream didn't have. And that multi-view,
I'm telling you.
I'm just telling you, I'm in love with the multi-view. And you can go and look, and there's some games that can't get in there, but almost every game, there's almost every game combination. And I probably watched 12 games this weekend.
I watch the multi-view every Saturday. I will have it on. And usually at the night game, I'll zero in on 1 or 2, maybe, but in the afternoon games, the multi-view at the 11 and 12 o'clock, 11 and 2:30 games, 3 o'clock games, it's unbelievable. It's awesome. And I guarantee it's coming where you can pick your own multi-view.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's going to be, yeah.
I think that'd be a good thing to have too, if you can do it. I mean, the technology is obviously there because somebody's doing it. Now, that could be the only thing that I could think of. Maybe there might be some kind of rights issue. I think you could probably. I wonder if NBC gets bent if you got 3 games on ESPN/ABC and 1 on NBC, maybe they don't like that. I didn't pay attention to what the networks were that I was watching,
Oh
but I
yeah.
wonder if they were all ABC, ESPN, SEC network. I'm gonna try to pay attention to that. Although the Big Ten games are on Fox, aren't they?
Yeah, I was watching on the
I
Big
know I
Ten.
watched Ohio State and
Yeah,
Oregon.
and it may be that they have some agreement that on those multi-screen they agree to show each channel if they can. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
if you wanted to pick your own multi-view, maybe you pay $2 a month or what. I don't know what it would be, but the only reason to charge you for creating your own multi-view would
yeah,
be that they have some agreement that everybody would be included in the
yeah,
multi-view. I don't know.
yeah. And
So
one of the cool parts about the multi-view in Utah, and they're not paying us any money, but it's a cool thing. Everybody should have it. Is that you can rewind multi-view, and all four screens will rewind. It buffers
really,
in the queue. So if like you miss something and you want to see
wow,
one of the four, you can rewind the whole multi-screen and it all plays
wow,
back. It's pretty
yeah.
killer. And then of course
I mean, I don't
when
know
the
how to
game
do.
you're watching goes to a commercial, you can just flip the sound over to one of the other games.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But the one thing I did notice is how often all games are in commercial.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, they all start at common times. The game they've
Right,
pretty much gotten close to running the college game like they do the NFL game time wise. The way the clock
right.
runs, it still takes about 4.5 hours to play a college football game, where it only takes about 3 hours and 20 minutes to play a pro game.
Well, the pros, when you run out of bounds, and they started doing this in college too. They stop the clock, but they crank it back up on the ball when you set the ball ready
Yeah,
for play.
yeah, yeah. Except in the
And
last 2 minutes of each
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
half or each quarter, or
yeah,
maybe the last five. I'm not sure.
right.
So speaking of that, let's go to the end of the Oregon-Ohio State game. Now, did you watch it at all? Did you see any of that game?
I watched the ins and out of it. I don't recall seeing the last couple minutes. I was watching that Ole Miss LSU game.
So at the end, Ohio State has the ball. They're down 31-32. They got the ball. There's less than a minute, and they're coming down the field. And they're getting down the field relatively quickly, but not fast enough, right? So they come to the line, and they've got 12 seconds, and they don't have any timeouts, so they can't stop the clock. And Oregon puts a 12th man on the field on purpose. And the play runs. And so the time runs off the clock. Now, yeah, Oregon gets penalized for 12 men on the field, but it doesn't get Ohio State close enough for a field goal.
It's a 5-yard penalty.
It's a 5-yard penalty, and they don't get the seconds back. And, of course, Ohio State fans are griping about it. And I'm thinking, you know what? Change the rule if you don't like it. I don't have a problem with anybody playing within the confines of the rule. If somebody makes a rule and there's an unintended consequence and it costs you, that's on you.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with what he did.
I saw the video, and I think what I'm impressed with was that he knew to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that obviously that's something that they've known about. A what if, maybe they saw it in another game, or they're just, hey, go read the rule book, look for loopholes.
Well,
I don't know. And
that's a thing too, because I remember when I was coaching Little League 10 years ago. At some point, Little League never had the drop third strike, where you could run, on a live ball. A drop third strike is a live ball. So you got to make a play at first, even on a strikeout if the catcher drops the ball. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you never had to do that in Little League. And 1 year, they put it in. They didn't announce it. I mean, they didn't send out this big thing, hey, we're going to have drop third strike this year. Y'all get ready for it. They just stuck it in the rule book, and I was one of those nerds that read the rule book every year when it came out, and I saw it in there. And I asked my other two coaches, I said, did y'all know this? And they said, no. I said, well, don't tell anybody. I said, we're just going to wait. I said, we're not even going to tell the kids until the time is right. And there was one team that we played, and it was always a dogfight. And we were always trying to get in each other's head. And I told the kids before the game, if the catcher drops a ball on third strike, we're going to run to first base. If we yell at you, run, just run to first base. Don't ask, don't think, don't do anything, just run to first base. And sure enough, right in the middle of that ball game, third strike, swing, catcher drops the ball, we go screaming, kid takes first base. They don't even throw it down. And it turned into like a 15-minute protest by the other team. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I got the rule book. I got the rule book in my hand, and I'm reading it to the umpire. I said, "What's it say right there?" He said, "Yeah, but..." And then you know what the other coach's argument was? Well, we didn't know about it. Well, read the rule book.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Ignorance is no.
Jeff
excuse.
Fisher did it. Remember that time? What was the deal Jeff Fisher did on the? There was something on a kickoff. He took advantage of some obscure rule in a kickoff situation where you got a free kick if something happened, and I don't remember what it was, but it was something.
Oh, yeah, it's like on a kickoff. If you fair catch, you get a free kick. So if it's a situation to where, let's say there's a penalty and you back them up, they're kicking from the 20 instead of the 30 or wherever they kick off from, or it's a safety where they're punting it, and the guy didn't get off a good punt, you can fair catch it and you get a free kick on a kickoff. That is a rule. We did it. Yeah. We did it in high school.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I had never heard of that. I didn't know about it. I wouldn't have never known about it. All right, B-Ray and Razorback Dave talking college football. We're going to take a quick break. Word from our new sponsor, KRT Athletic Muscle Cream. You need to try it out. Everybody's trying to use it. We'll be right back. Every championship, every game, every rep, every workout takes its toll on the body. Get ready for the next one. KRT Athletic Muscle Cream, proud partner of the Big 12 Athletic Conference. Oh, I know why you came here. And we're back. Episode 3, Speaking Sports, B-Ray and Razorback Dave. How cool. I don't know what your thoughts were about expanding to the 12-team playoff, but I think it's changed the game in a good way. I really feel like it's I don't want to say it's making it more like the NFL because I don't think that's what we want to do, but I do think that there are more people that have a chance to win it all with with what we got right now. And I like that.
Well, the games you have meaningful games at the end of the year.
Yeah.
For a bunch of teams instead of 3 teams or 4 teams. And so you have meaningful games, I think, which adds to it. And now you're looking at, does a 2-loss team get in? Does a 3-loss team get in? Does a 3-loss SEC team get in over a 2-loss Big 12 team or one loss Big 12? I mean, that's the next phase of arguments.
Yeah, and it's
coming up.
But I
think the games are meaningful. There's more meaningful games. I think you have. I mean, going into the last half of the season, you have a lot of teams. Let's say 20 or so teams that are going to be playing meaningful games, which is good for everybody. Instead of let's just watching who the final. Okay, we've got it narrowed down to the last 3 or 4 or whatever. Let's see who plays their way in and out, or the last 6. So this is the best part of it.
Well, and then you look at the top 12 teams. I think the coolest thing for me is, and I'm no fan of Alabama, but now you can lose a game and not be out of it. And I talked about it last week a little bit with Coach Whiteman. I don't feel the referees playing as much of a part of the game right now as they used to, because I don't think anybody really cares who wins the game right. I think the SEC is going to get 2 teams at least in. They're not trying to protect anybody. I mean, even if they get 2 1-loss teams to the championship game, Both of those teams are probably going to make the 12-team playoff unless one of them goes into that game with 2 losses and has 3, But I don't even know how that happens.
I think you're looking at 3 or maybe 4 SEC teams in, as well as 3 or 4 Big Ten teams. I mean, let's think about. So you basically got Miami or Clemson out of the ACC. Let's say both of them get in.
Yeah.
Then you got the Big 12. Okay. I don't even know who's leading the Iowa State. So they're leading the Big 12, right? So let's say Iowa State gets in. All right, that's 3 teams. And so now you got the Group of 5 team, that's 4. So now you got 8 spots left. I mean, theoretically, you're looking at 3 or 4 SEC teams and 3 or 4 Big Ten teams getting in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, you got Texas, Georgia, Bama, Alabama, LSU, and Tennessee. That's 5 in the top 12 right now.
Yeah,
now, Alabama and Tennessee are going to play this weekend, so one of them's going to have 2 losses.
Right.
Georgia's still got some ball games I got to play, and I don't think Texas has really played anybody yet. I mean, they've played some tough teams, but they hadn't played. Have they played anybody that was good? They hadn't. Well, let me put it to you this way: they hadn't played Georgia, they hadn't played Alabama
on Saturday,
and they hadn't played Tennessee. So Texas and Georgia play Saturday.
Let's look at. Hang on, I'm gonna pull up the Texas schedule. Texas has got Georgia, Arkansas, A&M. I know. I'm trying to think. They may play Ole Miss. Or Ole Miss play. I can't remember if Ole Miss plays. Oh, here's Texas. Texas has got Georgia, Vandy, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, A&M.
Yeah, so they skip Alabama. And they don't play Tennessee. But they would likely see them in an SEC championship game if they make it. If they win out, they're in. I think if they lose one, they're in. But they're going to have trouble with Georgia, maybe.
Yeah.
And Vanderbilt's not going to lay down for them. They should win that game. No. But Vanderbilt ain't going to lay down for them. Arkansas, you never know what you're going to get with them. 11 o'clock. If Texas loses to Georgia, that's a bigger game than maybe it would be today. Because even if they went into Arkansas undefeated and got beat, they're not going to drop that far. Kentucky's subject to beat you, and A&M's a lot better than everybody thought. So I mean, they still got the roughest part of their schedule left because they've got they got to go to Arkansas. They got to go to
A&M.
They got to go, and they got to come to Nashville for Vandy. We ought to go to that.
Yeah. They got to go to A&M. The thing about you look at this Georgia game is going to be big for a lot of different reasons. Just because it's the biggest game on the calendar this week.
Yeah.
And then if you come up and you got Arkansas, the Arkansas game is going to be a lot like the Tennessee game was at Arkansas, and that. On paper, Texas should win that game, but Arkansas has held their own, even beating them over there 3 years ago, pretty handily. And so that's not going to be a gimme. And we talked about this for 25 years when, Arkansas can push Texas around now. Back during the old Southwest Conference days, they couldn't. No. But now they can go man-to-man with them on the offense and defensive lines, and that's a big difference.
And they have beaten Texas every time they've played them since moving out of the Southwest Conference, except for the year Vince Young took them to the national championship.
Yeah, I think
Vince Young beat them in Fayetteville the year they came. But Arkansas has beat them every time they've played them since.
Yeah,
starting in '99, they had them in the Cotton Bowl in '99.
And that game, and then being the final game of the year at A&M. You playing on the road in that league, it's hard, and it's hard to win them all. You got to go on the road.
Is that going to be in College Station?
Yeah. Ooh. Oh yeah.
That won't be loud.
No. And so I mean, there's 3 games right there that they could lose. Florida. It's like I tell people. I was telling somebody today, Florida still has players. It's not like that they don't have any players over there. I don't know what their problem is, but they're going to beat somebody, you would think. And so Texas has got the roughest part of their schedule is definitely coming up.
Oregon's got to go
no doubt
to Ann Arbor in the first weekend in November. And then they close out the season at home against Washington. And they got to go to Wisconsin. They still got 3 ball games. I bet I would say, if that was Texas's remaining schedule, I wouldn't think as much about it as I do what they have left. But for Oregon, that's a pretty good remaining schedule, really.
Right.
And Penn State, they got Wisconsin this weekend, and they still have to play Ohio State. They still have to play Washington. And then Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland, they should be all right on those. And Miami.
You look at Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland, that just doesn't look as daunting as Texas having to play Arkansas, Florida, and Texas A&M. I don't know. Maybe
so here's the question. Let's say we're fast forward to November the 23rd. Miami has undefeated. Since then they've beaten Louisville, they've beat Florida State, they beat Duke, they beat Georgia Tech, and Wake Forest. Are they number one? Because they're behind several one-loss teams right now. When you look at the rankings right now, Miami's behind Georgia and Ohio State in the AP poll, and same in the coaches poll. Behind those one-loss teams. If they win from here to November and got one game left and they're undefeated, are they up there? If everybody else takes a hit, because by then Ohio State and Penn State will have played. I think you move Miami ahead of a one-loss Penn State. Maybe you don't against a one-loss Ohio State.
Here's the deal.
But here again, does that matter? I mean, is that about the teams or is that about schools?
No, if Miami is 12-0 and 10th in the nation, they get a bye.
Yeah.
They get a bye. So they're going to be in the top four. The ACC winner, Big Ten, SEC, and Big 12, they all get first-round byes, the winners.
So
if Miami wins –
what does Iowa State have to do?
So if Miami wins the ACC, they get a bye. They're going to be they get a bye the first round. So it doesn't – these rankings right here, they only mean something if you don't win your conference. But let's say Texas – Oregon or Penn State, one of them is going to win, or Ohio State, one of them is going to win the Big Ten. Texas or Georgia, one of them is going to win the SEC. Then you got Miami, Bama, LSU. You got Iowa State's in the Big 12. They're probably going to win that. And
they're going to probably win out, B-Ray. They got Central Florida, Texas Tech, Kansas, Cincinnati, Utah, and Kansas State.
Yeah. So they're ninth right now. They don't care. They're going to be a top four seed. So I think what it goes down to, what we were talking about earlier, who gets in the playoffs. Well, there's your 3 Big Ten teams, Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State. You got to think all 3 of them are going to be in one way or another. And you got to think Texas, Georgia, Bama are probably all 3 going to get in. And then who kind of fills in. That's where all the argument, do you put 4 SEC teams, 4 Big Ten teams in ahead of Iowa State? I mean, not Iowa State, but let's see who's second in Big 12, Kansas State ranked 17th. Are they better?
Oh, that'd make them squall, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One thing about it, it certainly is a lot of possibilities.
Tennessee probably is probably not going to make it. They're not playing very well right now. They've kind of come back down to earth, and they still got Bama and Georgia on the schedule, and Vanderbilt. So Tennessee's they're going to have to pretty much win out, or at least get by either Bama or Georgia. And they play at Georgia, and Heupel has never been very good on the road. And they play at Vanderbilt. I mean, Vanderbilt could be playing Tennessee. Vanderbilt could be playing for a bowl game right there. So that game's going to mean something to them. So,
all right. We're going to take a quick break. Come back and wrap it up. B-Ray and Razorback Dave. You're listening to Speaking Sports. Here's another word from KRT, Athletic Muscle Cream. Every championship, every game, every rep, every workout takes its toll on the body. Get ready for the next one. KRT Athletic Muscle Cream, proud partner of the Big 12 Athletic Conference. All right, Speaking Sports, welcome back. B-Ray and Razorback Dave, brought to you by KRT Athletic Muscle Cream. It works, folks. Got to give it a try.
It does work, folks.
And it is proudly sponsoring the Big 12 Athletic Conference. So check that out. You know, that's a pretty good deal for them. They're going to get VIP passes to the Big 12 championship game, 5 admission. We're going to present at the FanFest thing before the game. Invited to the VIP thing, and 5 days of both the men's and women's basketball tournament. It's a pretty good sponsorship. It's a 2-year deal. We're looking forward to that. It's going to be pretty slick, and we're going to keep doing this. So that's pretty cool. So while we're in the break, we were talking about, what did you say? The rankings matter. And my question was, okay, rankings matter more, but are they still doing them the same way, which is ranking them? So, for instance, Penn State and Ohio State and Georgia are ahead of Miami right now. Miami's undefeated. Is that because their teams are better than Miami, or because it's Ohio State and Georgia and they're trying to keep them close to the top? So when they start, ringing in the new playoff schedule, they can keep it. It's always been predicated about keeping the big dogs towards the top of the poll, whatever the poll is. And they got to keep the big dogs towards. I mean, because look, and my case in point, Iowa State. Who thought Iowa State was going to be any good this year? Nobody, except
Indiana.
maybe the Iowa State people. But they're sitting
Indiana.
Yeah, but they're sitting 6-0 right now with really a license to run the table. If they don't have a brain fart, they're going to win out. They're going to be sitting there 12-0. And then go to the Big 12 championship game and have a chance to go in the playoff undefeated with a first round bye. But they're not working their way. They're not working their way from first or second or third like Texas and Penn State and Ohio State and Georgia. You think
right.
if Iowa State had started the season preseason number 1, you think they'd be behind Ohio State and Georgia right now? No, they would not be.
Think about this. You got Indiana 6-0, ranked 16th. If they go 10-2, they'll probably barely be in the top 25. Pitt 6-0.
Yeah.
And so ranked 20th.
Hey, Brigham Young is 6-0, sitting there at 13th, and they got Oklahoma State, Central Florida, Utah, Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston. They could go undefeated.
So BYU and Iowa State looking to be playing in the Big 12 championship.
But again, another team starting towards the bottom and working their way up. I don't think they knew. Looks like to me nobody knew what to do with the Big 12 after Texas and Oklahoma left.
That's right. They didn't.
Well,
that's why all those teams are starting off way down there.
Before we get out of here, I want to talk a little bit about, and we have a lot of Dallas fans at AFCARE and RNS, so I don't want to beat up on Dallas too much, but man, they lost to Detroit like 49 to something, not a single digit.
Yeah, it was the fascinating thing about that game is I really felt like, Dallas gets the 3:00 game, which is the prime spot every time they can on Fox. I mean, they're on that prime time game 8 or 9 times during the year. And this is not counting Monday night football, Thursday night football, Thanksgiving football. Dallas they're the biggest draw. They're America's team. They're the biggest TV draw. So whenever the networks can grab them, and Detroit, who's never on that game, and Detroit's better, made it to the had a playoff win last year, lost in the NFC championship. I think Detroit was trying to prove a point. They got good players. They got good coaching. They're bought in. They got good players. I think they went down there to make a statement on Dallas, and they did. I mean, Dallas. I mean, they're prima donnas. They always have been, and Jerry likes that because Jerry's a prima donna.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that? And remember, the Titans' attitude reflects leadership.
That's right. And I think what he really needs to find is a coach that's a prima donna. And I think that's kind of the missing piece. I think McCarthy fits well at some places. I've never felt like it was a great fit there at Dallas.
Do you think Jerry's called Nick Saban? to see if he'd come finish the season?
I don't know if he would finish the season, but I guarantee you that's floating around in the back of his head. And I think you may also see Jerry, if Saban wasn't interested, I mean, he could go after, Sarkisian or somebody like that, especially if Texas won the national championship.
Yeah.
Sarkisian's a prima donna. So
there don't appear to be any dominant teams in the NFL except for maybe Kansas City. They're sitting 6-0. Everybody else has got at least a loss, and most division leaders have 2 losses, which that's kind of what I was talking about in comparison to the college game. I don't know if there's not that many dominant teams. They're all really good, but they've all seemed to have caught up with each other.
Yeah,
with
that's
the transfer
right.
portal and NIL. Yeah. I think they've caught up with it,
everything.
and I think it makes it a better game. But that's just me.
No, the transfer portal has definitely changed the game, and that players that would languish on the bench, good players at Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia, now they're leaving and going to where they can play at Arkansas, at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, at these schools where they can get playing time in. So now these schools are adding depth, and they're getting players that maybe they couldn't have originally signed. And so it's changed the dynamic, and you're seeing it every week. I mean, you look at South Carolina going to the wire. They played well enough to win that game against Bama, and so that dynamic has changed everything.
I don't want to get out of here. We're running long, but I don't want to get out of here without talking about. Did you happen to catch any of the football game from London? And I don't guess I've never paid that much attention to the NFL in London, but I just happened to flip it over there right at the beginning of the game, and they were singing the national anthem. And I thought, man, England is a really good sport because the national anthem is about us kicking their tail and getting independence. That's what Star Spangled Banner's about. And they let somebody walk out in the middle of their stadium and sing it at the top of their lungs. Now, they followed it with God Save the Queen, which I get that. That's their country. They should have done that. But I just thought it was odd. Do you see if I guess if the NFL put a team in London, would they let them play God Save the Queen over here? Or what if they brought Manchester United and some other group over to play a soccer game here? Would they play the English national anthem over here? I don't know. I think it would be a classy move. It just kind of shocked me. I thought, wow, that'd be like, I don't know.
What do they play at the baseball games, like the Toronto Blue Jays? I know at the hockey games when we're playing a Canadian team, they play both anthems. Yeah. Yeah, they play O Canada. Yeah, they play O Canada and they play the Star Spangled Banner. Yeah. I don't know why they do that, but I think it's an interesting take. Yeah. Well, they don't do it in the college game. No, thank goodness they don't make them travel over there and play a game. That's going to do it for this week. Thank B-Ray for showing up and coming on. Long time been off the air, but we're back. We're going to be doing it more often. Always good to sit down and talk to you. This is Razorback Dave. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next week. A lot of good games coming up. Get that YouTube TV and watch it on Multiview. We'll see you next week.